What's up, everybody? Welcome to another exciting Mannun's Minute. So, there's a subject in the occult world that gets people curious real fast, and that is the idea of psychic vampires. The moment someone hears the phrase, their mind usually goes straight to capes, fangs, creepy castles, and some pale figure lurking in a dark corner waiting to drain somebody dry. But that is not really what we're talking about here. Psychic vampires are not usually presented as blood-drinking monsters out of some old horror movie. In occult and spiritual conversation, this term is usually used to describe a person who seems to drain energy from the people around them. And whether you take that literally, spiritually, psychologically, or some mix of all three, the subject has stuck around for a reason. So who or what is a psychic vampire? This is the first question to clear up, because this is where people start getting confused. A psychic vampire, at least as the term is commonly used, is usually thought of as a person who feeds on the emotional, mental, or spiritual energy of other people. In other words, instead of taking blood, they take vitality. They leave people feeling exhausted, foggy, irritable, overwhelmed, or just off after being around them. Now, right away, I want to slow this down a little because this is where folks can get dramatic real quick. Not every annoying person is a psychic vampire. Not every needy person is one either. And not every difficult relationship means there's some dark occult force at work. Sometimes a person is just selfish. Sometimes they're manipulative. Sometimes they're emotionally immature. Sometimes they're deeply wounded and pulling on everybody around them because they have no idea how to stand on their own 2 feet. But in occult circles, the term psychic vampire usually gets used for people who seem to do this consistently. It's a pattern. You talk to them and suddenly you feel drained. You spend an hour with them and you feel like you need a nap, a cleansing bath, or a week off. The conversation is always about them. The room shifts when they walk in. They need attention, sympathy, validation, drama, conflict, or emotional reaction the way some people need coffee in the morning. That is usually the who. What is a psychic vampire exactly? Now, this is where the topic gets interesting because there are really a few ways people understand this. One way is the spiritual view. In that view, a psychic vampire is literally feeding on subtle energy. Some believe they may do it unconsciously, while others think a few people learn to do it intentionally. The idea here is that human beings are not just flesh and bone. We have energy bodies, emotional currents, spiritual force, personal magnetism, whatever term you want to use. A psychic vampire in this view taps into that and pulls from it when they feel weak, empty, unstable, or hungry for power. Then you have the psychological angle. This is where people say, look, maybe nobody's sucking your aura dry, but there are definitely people who feed on attention, conflict, pity, chaos, and emotional dependence. And honestly, this is where a lot of the conversation overlaps, because whether it is spiritual or psychological, the effect can feel very similar. You end up worn out. Then there's a middle ground view, and this is probably where a lot of people actually land if they're being honest. They might say some people absolutely have a way of draining a room, and whether that is energy work, emotional manipulation, or just dysfunctional behavior, the result is real enough. And I think that matters because sometimes people get so hung up on proving whether psychic vampires are real in a lab-tested way that they miss the point. The real point is that some people leave others depleted on a repeated basis. Call it what you want. The pattern is what matters. When did this idea show up? This is not some brand new internet topic. The idea of one person feeding on the life force of another is ancient in spirit, even if the term psychic vampire sounds more modern. Old stories from many cultures talk about beings that drain life, spirit, energy, strength, or soul. Not always blood, sometimes breath, sometimes essence, sometimes vitality. Human beings have been trying to explain harmful energetic influence for a very, very long time. The names change, the folklore changes, the imagery changes, but the core idea keeps showing up. In more recent occult and metaphysical communities, especially from the 19th and 20th centuries onward, the phrase psychic vampire became more popular as people started talking more openly about magnetism, psychic force, aura work, occult defense, and energetic hygiene. Then, of course, modern spiritual culture grabbed the idea and ran with it. Now you hear it in New Age circles, witchcraft spaces, energy healing communities, self-help conversations, and even regular everyday life. These days, people will use the phrase without even being occult at all. They'll say that person is an energy vampire. And what they mean is simple. That person drains me every time I deal with them. So the idea has old roots, but the modern language around it is a little newer. So where do psychic vampires show up? Well, that's an easy one. everywhere people exist. That sounds sarcastic, but I really mean it. They can show up in families, in friendships, in workplaces, in spiritual groups, in dating situations, in online communities, churches, covens, social circles, volunteer groups, and even in comment sections. A psychic vampire does not need to be some mysterious occult stranger wearing black and staring into candles. Sometimes it's just the person who always creates a storm around themselves and somehow makes it everybody else's problem. Sometimes it's the person who always has a crisis the minute attention moves off them. Sometimes it's the person who pokes, prods, guilt trips, manipulates, and stirs things up because peace feels too boring for them. And here's another thing people do not always want to admit. These types can show up in spiritual communities a lot because spiritual groups often attract people who are searching, hurting, open, empathic, or longing for connection. That can be beautiful, but it can also create easy feeding grounds for someone who wants energy, control, admiration, or dependency. That is why good judgment matters. Not paranoia, good judgment. There's a difference. So why do they even do it? Now we're getting to the center of it. Why would someone become this way? Well, if you take the spiritual view, some people would say it's because the person is energetically depleted and has learned, consciously or unconsciously, to pull from others instead of building their own strength. They may have weak boundaries, damaged energy, emotional instability, or habits that make them dependent on outside fuel. If you take the psychological view, the answer might be insecurity or trauma or narcissism, dependency or lack of self-awareness, or maybe the need for control. Some people don't really know how to regulate themselves, so they use other people as batteries. They need reassurance nonstop. They need conflict to feel alive. They need pity to feel important, and they need someone else's reaction because emptiness feels unbearable to them. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Some people are not even really aware of it at all. Some know exactly what they're doing. They know how to push buttons. They know how to draw sympathy. They know how to dominate a conversation, drain a group, keep people off balance, and make themselves the center of gravity. That doesn't mean every psychic vampire is a cackling villain. Some are broken people, some are manipulative people, and some are both. But either way, if someone constantly leaves you feeling stripped down, you do not need a formal occult diagnosis before taking that seriously. How do you spot one? Usually not by one bad afternoon. You spot them by the pattern. You feel heavy after dealing with them. They create emotional exhaustion. Your body tenses up when you see their name pop up. Every interaction turns into a dump session, a guilt trip, an argument, a pity party, or a demand for your time and energy. They may play the victim every single time. They may fish for attention. They may flatter and then drain. They may cause conflict and then feed off the reaction. They may leave everybody else feeling worn out, and then while they somehow seem more charged up than before. That pattern matters. And again, let me say this because it's important. Having a hard season in life does not make someone a psychic vampire. Needing support does not make someone a psychic vampire. We all need help sometimes. We all lean on people sometimes. The issue is not human need. The issue is chronic energetic taking without balance, without the awareness, and without care for the damage done. So what should you do about this? This part is actually simple, even if it is not always easy. You strengthen your boundaries. That means emotional boundaries, mental boundaries, spiritual boundaries, and sometimes physical distance too. You do not have to answer every call. You do not have to rescue every crisis. You don't have to explain yourself into the ground. You do not have to let someone keep plugging into you just because they're used to having access. Spiritually, many witches and occult practitioners use grounding, shielding, cleansing, warding, prayer, ritual baths, protective charms, and boundary-focused spell work. Psychologically, you might use direct communication, distance, have low contact, or in some cases, no contact at all. And no, that's not being cruel. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is stop letting somebody feed on you. Psychic vampires are one of those subjects where folklore, occult, thought, psychology, and everyday life all seem to bump into each other. Whether you see them as literal energy feeders, emotional parasites, or just chronically draining people, the lesson is still the same. Pay attention to what happens to you around certain people. Pay attention to patterns. Pay attention to the cost, because not every threat comes with fangs. Sometimes it comes with a smile, a sob story, a constant emergency, or personality that leaves everybody else tired while they walk away full. And that right there is why this subject still matters. It's not just spooky talk. It's about good judgment. It's about good energy. It's about knowing when compassion is healthy and when it turns into self-abandonment. And that's a lesson a whole lot of people could stand to learn.